Alright, so in this one, we are going to be doing my top 10 list with the newest release of Legends Limited Omega Shenron here with my pal, my co-host, Mr. Shy Guy. Hello, Mr. Pal. Say hi. Thanks. Appreciate that. Top 10 list, though. We have emerged to it, and yes, I do think both these new units of Omega and Rage Shenron, which we learned a new name because no one knew his name prior to this release. Rage Shenron are both top 10, but I want to touch on who's not top 10 that you're going to be like, hey, gasp, how could this be? And let me explain why, right? So, Ultra Gohan, this, funny little guy down there, he's there. He doesn't make the list. If you're not in the list section, you are not going to be top 10 for me. Very simple. Ultra Gohan, he has lost even more value. How I see this is that Ulton, out of anybody, has gained the most value within this new release. Obviously, Ulton is the best counter to Omega because what you do is you do his normal combo, you get his first life popped. Okay, great. Then you pop main into that ult. It's a drop combo. Indestructible is already off because it's a drop combo. And then plop, Omega is dead. So Gohan gains value in that retrospect. And more so that Rage is actually a very good partner for Ulton. I think Ulton's best team is Kid Buu, Ulton himself, and then Rage Shenron. It's very solid. I ran for a last video prior to this. Check that out if you didn't see, if you want proof. And it was even higher ranked in early season as well. So, Ultra Gohan, I do not think is top 10. Does he have an argument? Sure. Could you argue him as number 10? Sure. Do I see it? No. I do not see him there. I think there's more value in other units. Obviously, this will be the case for units, moving forward, where if they are a certain color, their value goes down, and it'll go down drastically because of said color. But Gohan is not top 10 to me. UI. Now, UI is also another candidate. You'd be like, that guy should be top 10, right? Yeah, he should. But he's not. UI has bad snipage potential of any of these purples. We've touched on this a ton. Compared to Baby and GB, the UI snipage is terrible. Baby even goes higher in stock because he got another buff to his team of GT. 2 buffs. You actually could run double yellow right now. You're pretty safe. There's literally one goddamn red right here. And I think most people would agree there's only one top 10 red right now. So, UI is the worst of the three to get snipe outs on these purples. And UI even worse off than that. His teams, what would his team be? UI, Ultra Gohan, Ulton, is that the team? It's not a very good team. You really don't have much going on there because it's going to be Ultra Gohan fighting for his life to even, try to manage against G4, whether, they do swap perfect timings and stuff. If they're just playing decently, Ultra Gohan won't be able to do anything. UI, he could do okay, but that's the best he could do, okay. All these units are doing great stuff, if not in their utility, just in their actual damage itself. So UI dwindles down to below top 10 for me. Yes, both these Sun Fam Ultras have left top 10 in my eyes, and I couldn't be happier about it. These are the most toxic units in the game. Well, some of the most toxic units in the game of UI and Ultra Gohan, so I'm glad they're gone. They'll resurge, don't worry, they will. Gohan much easier than UI, he is newer after all. But another option that could be top 10, I just have him there right next to them, is Evil Buu. I think Evil Buu just lost his place on his team alongside Ulton. That's why he's just barely not making it. But he definitely has a contention for it. Just, again, purples are up. He's not very up right now. The only good green right now is the one that just released. And we'll touch on him once we get to him. But let's get into the actual top 10. I felt like those were neat explanations, though, because you'll be like, but where's Ultra Gohan? How did he not make it? There's your explanation. And if you didn't make it to that part of the video, tough shit. Sorry. Tough stuff. Number 10, though, let us get into it, is going to be Rage Shenron. Now, Rage Shenron is a pesky little bastard, just straight up. There's not much else you could say about him. What he has, let's go over his goods, and there's a lot of goods, actually. Ally Team Heal, full Team Heal. What is it, 20-25%? Very strong. Destroy all of your enemy cards, I believe, also on main. The Paralyze on the blue card, which is ridiculously strong. The Paralyze 100% guaranteed when he is hit by an attack that is actually, physically, hitting his body, right? A tackle, tap attack, or any of those types. Just beat their ass, and then, boom, he actually gets his Paralyze. After that, first 100% proc, it goes down to 25% proc every singular next time his body is getting, beat up. Shy Guy, I don't mean to hit you, but, so he has that going for him, which is very gimmicky. I've had it where UG4 is trying to ult me. Oh, wait. He popped main, then his paralysis procced, and then I caught him and he just got murdered afterwards. Like, it's gimmicky, it's not fully always consistent, but let's say it's compared to Evil Boo, which Evil Boo would be the opposite character, or the other character rather, in the slots of Rage Shenron prior to this banner dropping. Well, what's more consistent? Just Evil Boo getting murdered by purples, which probably pretty consistent, or Rage Shenron getting his paralysis. I would say it's better off in the consistency to get paralysis, possibly proccing, than your Evil Boo getting murdered by purples, right? It just is a better situation for yourself, most likely. So Rage Shenron has great value. There's even more. He has Blast Armor on Strike, which is very strong, similar to Evil Boo. Range-based unit on stats really has Blast Armor on Strike. Is a bit silly, but he does have it. And it's probably more. Oh yeah, 40% support that he gives out. 40% is a lot, because you also have Ulton, who's giving support after his gauge, the first gauge, and then you have 40% support right there. Like, Kid Buu and Ulton do nuclear missiles on this team. It just is how it is. Even helps with his own team for himself, because he gets a Zenkai buffer. Evil Boo didn't really have a great Zenkai buffer on that Gohan, Kid Buu, Evil Boo team. You would just have to run double defense and just kind of accept that fate. You run LF Piccolo bench, boom, blast attack and defense. Like, it's just better. It's just simply a better bench, right? You need blast defense a little bit right now because Omega, Ulton, Kid Buu. So you have to have that just a little bit at a time. And having more blast defense and blast attack, more importantly, is very strong. Rage Shenron, nothing higher. No, I won't move him higher, but I think it's a very confident, concrete 10. I like what he's doing. I like how he improves Gohan's team. Not making him obscenely bust, because Ulton is not the most broken character in the game, not by a long shot. He is just strong, very strong, but he's not broken, which is a good thing. We had too many broken Gohans. But Rage is amplifying Gohan's team, and I would say that was his best team. And if you don't know, Rage Shenron does share the regen tag, so you just leader Ulton and just put regen bench. Like, yes, he doesn't have PO, but regen is PO. It's just a little bit worse off, but doesn't matter here. You literally have the same bench. Like, you wouldn't change it for anything. So, Rage Shenron, number 10, very solid release for how, disgusting he looks. He actually is pretty strong. Shy Guy, please stand up straight. You're making us look foolish. Number 9 is actually going to be Omega. Yeah, Omega Shenron. He has value. Now, don't get me wrong, he is still hurting because he is the color green. I've said it so many times already. If this guy were any other color, I would minimum rate him like probably 7 and up, right? I mean, it would be pretty tough to rate him below that. But him being green, you just come with flaws, and he has those flaws. The flaws, which I guess would be more important to point out than the positives, because it is a low, right? Number 9 is low for a new release character, for an LF at least. 1% is pretty good to be top 10, but an LF is pretty low for number 9. Is his neutral. So how his neutral works is 5 counts, 3 times, overall neutral. That's it. And then what, 50 counts post-green card, he can get neutral, which I found to be more of an oddity than a more commonplace situation. Like, I don't know, maybe 40%, 30% of the time I'll get that to happen, where it's like, well, we'll get to that setting, and then I could get that ideal situation where I save the green for him, and I don't have to use it with anybody else, but sometimes you just have to use the card with other units. Like, that's just how the game works. So he has decent neutral, but only 5 counts overall neutral. Every singular entry for 3 entries is not good enough. He has defense neutral every singular entry forever, and that's good, but only for 5 counts. I wish it were longer, because while he can't infinite like G4, because G4 just stops him, we'll get into why that's a problem as well. Let's say he's facing Ulton, right? Ulton is pretty common, I would say, especially compared to some of the other characters on this list. Like Golden Frieza, you could do a lot of cards. You could beat his ass. You could probably one-combo Ulton if you had 10 counts of neutral with Omega Shenron. Like, if you just caught them on ideal timing, this is like your second entry, boom, spam, 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 debuff, like, it goes great. And speaking of his debuffs, another flaw to Omega is exactly that. Not to say that it's necessarily his own fault. It's more the fault of another character, which only one character is making this a problem. It's G4's problem, or rather G4's, I guess, situation. Omega is a character that wants to stack debuffs. His damage does not get too high. He has no cut pen. He gets, what, 230% peak, I believe it is, which isn't even that crazy. We look at G4 literally has 200% for existing. Like, Omega has 230 peak. G4 is 200% existing. Clearly, his damage is not that crazy, Omega, right? Not meant to be the peak damage dealer of Jesus Christ and God. Understandable. But how he gets his damage going would be debuffing. And G4, obviously, with his gauge, does not give that allowance, so Omega cannot get his ideal setting. If you go into a match and you're not facing G4, which that is pretty rare, Omega would look like this top 7, top 6 thing because G4 is not there. He's allowed to do his debuffs, though the fusions are immune to it once they fuse. Do it early game, right? You're still chilling, do it early game. But if G4 is there, Omega, obviously, color-wise, every single situation-wise takes a big hit. There is anti-G4 things in Omega's kit, sealing ults, stopping AoE greens once. I believe there's something else that's going. I guess the sub-count manipulation, kind of like snipe potential could kind of work. And also, obviously, defense neutral every entry, but it's not enough, right? UG4 is still too strong. Spoiler, UG4 is still number 1. But Omega has decent stuff. I know I point out all these flaws, but there is decent stuff that exists where if he can get those debuffs going, he goes crazy. If he is paired with Rage Shenron, he goes really fucking crazy. This guy's only 6-star for me, and he goes pretty berserk at times, and it's really good burst damage, despite even low debuffs. So let's say, 3 blasts will be done, and he'll do, 70 to 80% on a type neutral unit. It's that's really fucking good damage. I see him do over, 60% to, a 1 blast to, a pre-SV. I know he's advantaged, but it's 1 fucking card. That's a lot of damage. So he has potential, don't get me wrong. He's just like what Baby was on release. This character, if he were any other color, just like Baby, he would be in a much better spot on this release. But just like Baby, because he is the color he is getting hurt by the current meta colors. I could see him easily rising to maybe 6, at his best, at his real best. I don't think he has that real potential to get higher than 6, but because really top 5 is a tough spot to be in. I guess top 4 more, but top 5 still. But for what he is right now, there is 3 purples. He's a green. He's at least top 10. There's some, we got to give some shine to that there. But it is on the lower end, unfortunately. I do wish he was a bit higher. But I think every unit above him does just have superior situations to be in. And team-wise, it's the same thing. His best team would just be with Rage, and I guess you could do Ulton or Kid Buu as a third. It's going to be one of the two. It doesn't matter which one. I guess Ulton if you want to glaze Omega more, but, Ulton would just be better off. But his team is definitely PO. Blast PO/Ulton lead. It's not going to be Regen, or rather, GT. GT is not his best team at all. But number 9 for Omega Shenron, new 2 units out of the way. I know their impact is not that crazy. Again, there is stock to go up in other units. Will it adjust their placement? Let's find out. Number 8, I do have, and yes, there's no God Goku. God Goku's a fucking loser. Forgot to even mention him because I literally forgot he exists. Number 8 is going to be Ultra Golden Frieza. He goes down for me just because I feel more of an understanding that his teams are not ideal. His best team is what? CMZ himself, and then whatever third. You want to put LFSA, you want to put Baby, you want to put, I don't know. I think those would be the main 2, actually. I guess you could put Rage if you leadered Rage on, well, actually Rage is blast based. Yeah, I don't know. That's exactly the issue with him, though. Golden, he is in a fine spot individually, but you do have to, I guess, understand that his teams is a factor, and while he is a very good individual unit, you just need a better team. He's still super strong, but it's just that his teams are not as strong as, I guess, him. That third does not exist. He just doesn't have a third. Kind of like the Ulton team with Majin Buu Saga, which was prior to this banner, was pretty strong, but you are missing some, ideal third, and I think Rage actually fills that role greatly, if not near perfect. UGF doesn't have a third on his team. Again, it's CMZ, him. If I put LF, so that's a fucking trash-ass unit, just giving support and glazing my other 2, so I guess it works, but it's not ideal. Baby doesn't really flow greatly on that team, especially because Baby can pretty easily die, unless you have a fucking crack star Baby, and no one really does. So it's a bit hairy for Frieza's team. Again, Frieza's fine. There's no problem with him. It's just his team is not ideal, so I think he has to get lowered because of that, and because other teams have gone better with other units. But we'll touch on that right here. Number 7 is going to be Kid Buu. Yeah, Kid Buu got a little bit of a bump up there. I'm not sure if he was top 10 the last list, which maybe he could have been 10, arguable, 10, 11 kind of spot. But Kid Buu, very strong impact on an increase of potential, right? You look at Rage Shenron, again, I mentioned it, a few times already. Rage Shenron, Kid Buu, and Ulton. That is the best Kid Buu team. That's the best Ulton team. That's the best Rage Shenron team. If you want to put Omega, sure, but Omega is literally worse than Kid Buu on the list, so Kid Boo's probably better. Kid Buu is thriving. I mean, I guess Omega Shenron could be a problem for him. Ulton's on the team. And if Ulton's gonna have a problem, well, Raid Shenron could get some gimmick stuff and then make all those problems disappear. And Ulton doesn't really have problems. I mean, sure, you could face GB. I'm pretty sure Rage, Kid Buu, and Ulton could deal with GB pretty well, if not, the funny rush mechanic. Remove Vanish, you catch them once on that, you do a rush, or you just do the ult itself. Boom, you kill that GB. I mean, it doesn't sound like too difficult of a play, right? It sounds pretty fucking simple. Just catch them one time when that main ability is ready to go, and you have your rush. Sounds pretty easy. But Kid Buu, value up. You look at it, Ultra Gohan goes all the way down. Evil Buu goes even further down than what he was. And, the blue unit there just kind of gets his stock up. He does, again, 2 units in here actually have no cup pen in their kit. Kid Buu does not have cup pen on ult, so that thing does not hit very hard. But if you get all the debuffs, which actually pairs very well with Omega, if you want to pair Kid Buu with Omega, Kid Buu's debuffing, sustained damage, debuff, every 4 counts he's just straight up debuffing them. So you pair that with Omega's debuffs as well, you would get a lot of burst damage with Omega, Kid Buu, and Ulton. So with Kid Buu getting a better partner in the color synergy of Raid Shenron, Kid Buu's value just has to go up. I mean, that's just what it is. Evil Buu is not the ideal color to pair with Kid Buu and Ulton. Well, now Raid Shenron is basically the perfect color. I mean, he is a yellow and there's 3 purples. Like, I kind of want a yellow, right? And Raid Shenron is exactly that. I figured he would be. He is a character nobody knows, so it's like, okay, let's make him super valuable. And guess what? He's super fucking valuable in a top 10 spot, but still, top 10 is pretty fucking strong in the entire game of Dragon Ball Legends. Number 6, though. Let me actually take a sip of coffee. Number 6 and number 5, I was debating very heavily for a lot of time, like a couple hours in my head. I don't know why I sip it like a toddler, but nonetheless. Number 6 is going to be... I'm still debating it while doing this right now. Baby. Yeah. Number 5 is pretty obvious, I would say. You can probably assume. But Baby. Number 6, I think his value has... It's neutral, right? I mean, wouldn't it be neutral? Like, yeah, he's better than Rage, but Rage and Omega don't go with Baby. Again, they're blast-based. Omega is blast-based. He gets blast damage. He has higher blast stat. He's obviously blast-based. There's no debate on that. He can probably do okay strike, but that's like giving my GB, a blast team. Why would I put the Assault Chain Strike guy that's literally making strikes a blast team? That just wouldn't make sense. So Baby stays kind of neutral. I guess his stock could technically be up because Ulton's stock is up, so Baby would be technically better off. But again, we always go back to that discussion. How difficult is it for these yellows to snipe out these purples? Baby is not very easily sniping out UG4 or Ulton. Matter of fact, it's harder for Baby to snipe out Ulton than it is UG4, right? I mean, Gohan literally cancels the buff effect of the Endurance Null, so it's like, what the fuck do you do at that point? But, nonetheless, Baby's in a fine spot. Baby has a decent value. I would even be okay if someone said Kid Buu and Baby could be tied. I don't feel that completely, but if someone were to say that, I'd be like, yeah, this is understandable to my eyes. But there's not much to say about Baby. His value is kind of retained. He is gone up. This is exactly what Omega Shenron should be getting. Number 6, number 7 placements for a next couple months span. If they just don't drop another fucking purple, please fucking God, don't. He's got 2 purple fucking ultras, just like Broly to Gogeta Blue. We don't need that shit again. Got purple LF, leave the color purple alone. They're glazed as fuck. If they just drop any other color, Omega Shenron, whether it be a blue drops, okay, well, he's green, so his value goes up. Or it's a range-based, red, okay, well, he's green, so his value goes up. Or it's another yellow, and it's a better, thing than Rage, and it's like you can run yellow, yellow, green, because there's only one red running around. Okay, sure, everything will make Omega's value go up, as Baby's has throughout time. You can see Super 17 is not here, so the guy that was kind of stopping him on this release has dwindled. We are waiting for Omega to get a similar situation. It'll be much more tough, because Super 17 is not that hype of a character for most people. G4 and Gohan are, so it'll be tough to see them diminish, but eventually we should see Omega gain more value, not just fall off the earth, right? It should be the case, but we will see. Number 5, like I said, should be obvious. CMZ, again, I was pretty heavily debating who would be here at 5 or 6. The reasoning would be that CMZ now, again, I'm not fully certain on this. I haven't even tried it. I've just heard a lot of talk of it, which talk is talk, walk is walk. Who knows if it actually does well? I've just heard a lot of, discussion because of the Indestructible, which I didn't even mention with Omega because you probably know he has Indestructible, right? So it's value. But because the Indestructible, now on Fusions, you could debate and argue, okay, my fourth character, should it be Omega in the Indestructible setting if there's no UG4 enemy, or if there is a UG4 enemy, and I guess you could bring him as well, or would it be CMZ? That's kind of the debate I've been having in my head, and I think I'm much more confident in the situation of bringing CMZ again. I think that Omega wouldn't be the greatest on a strike-based team, right? For one, he's not going to get Zenkai buffed on his team of fusions, and I think if you're going to run, let's say, oh man, if you were run Rage himself and Ulton, you would leader Ulton, and then you could put Super 17 bench, right? That GT Super 17, the green one, that would Zenkai buff Omega right there. High double defense, 35%. Like, you could do that. G4, same exact thing. Like, you could literally do that, and it's free as fuck. But on Fusions, you can't Zenkai buff Omega. You could put OG3 Ku, but that's such a low Z ability, and it's not worth anybody else's time to have. And CMZ wouldn't get that Z ability regardless. So, it wouldn't be worth it again. This is more because I hear talk of that, where I was debating 5-6, but now that I kind of just feel out discuss what I'm even hearing, it does feel like CMZ would just be a more concrete, as it was, as that fourth option on Fusions than Omega Shenron. Again, if you want safety, you can. I'm not saying you can't, but I don't think it's a necessity for Fusions. I don't think Fusions needs a safety. I really don't. Like, you just let CMZ die. Okay, well, there's your death debuffs and death buffs and all that shit. Like, there's no problem with letting CMZ die. Like, I think he's always the first one to die anyways, so I don't know. I don't think you need Omega Shenron on Fusions. I've heard it. I don't think it's a necessity, especially because his coloring. If he was any other color, I could understand the debate, and CMZ would probably go lower. But because of the color, I don't think he's a necessity at all. But as we go through, I think the top 4 is very solidified, if not now, more than it was before, because of the buff of this character, which number 4 would be Mr. Ulton. Yes, as I mentioned, his stock went up. Not to say it went up above the Fusions, because the Fusions are still the Fusions, and Fusions is still the best team in the game, probably. But Ulton's stock is much higher. It was much more of it could be CMZ4, or it could be CMZ5, with the Majin Buu Saga team prior to this banner. But now with Rage Shenron, with much more of a better color situation for the entire meta, for Ulton's team, his value is much more solidified at 4 than what it was prior to, in my opinion. There's nothing I have to touch on Ulton. You know what he does. He's not a broken Gohan. He is a very strong Gohan. We know what broken Gohans look like. This guy is not there, at least as of right now. He is just a very strong Gohan. Gives you an LS17 vibe with his utility and his damage. I'm not saying his aging, because who knows how he'll age, right? We will never know how he'll age until we get there. But for what he does, he has utility. He has the debuffing, he has the cancellation of buffs, he has the damage, he has the support, like, he has everything going on in his kit, so it's very obvious he would be a top 4 unit because of that everything and his better color situation going on with his best team. Now the top 3, obvious as what it once was. I don't even think I have to go into much detail because it's not going to change. Once again, these units have made some impact, but nothing crazy impact, as you can obviously see there at the bottom of the tier list. So top 3 is all 3 Fusions. Nothing has changed in their order. GB, I guess GB would technically get more stock because Ulton is better, but I mean, GB is still, going to be number 3 there, just because of the rush setting of Vegito being too strong. And yes, Omega Shenron can stop that rush setting, but okay, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything. You can just rush at any time. Like, Omega Shenron is not lowering his sub count by 6 trillion every single sequence of his entire existence to come in to stop the rush and have his ally not be rushed. Like, that's just not a thing. And Vegito could just outright kill Omega Shenron with cards. Like, Omega Shenron's not a tank. And G4 is alongside Vegito. So it's like, it doesn't fucking matter what Omega Shenron's doing. The Fusions don't give a shit about Omega Shenron. So, number 1, UG4. To no one's surprise, UG4 is still the best unit in the game. It is not very close. I think it is somewhat, like, you could debate pluses and minuses for Vegito and Gogeta, or G4 rather. Sure, but I would still, end of the day, pick G4 over Vegito at the number 1 spot. Super Vegito, number 2, Gogeta Blue, number 3, Ulton, number 4, CMZ, number 5, Baby, number 6, Kid Buu, very high up there at number 7, Ultra Golden Frieza number 8, Omega Shenron number 9, and last but not least at all, Rage Shenron number 10. And no, I don't think Rage and Omega are swappable. I initially did. I really did initially, but I've come to use Omega Shenron a bit more, to where I respect him a bit more, to keep him certainly above Rage there. They are still very low, but hey, they both made the list. I am happy to see that units actually make the top 10 list with this newest LF, unlike the last newest LF, one of them at least. And that's kind of funny because Ultron was literally top 2 on this release, and God, Goku wasn't even top 10 for a lot of people. If not barely, like, top 8. Like, it was really bad. But hey, Omega made it. He's good enough. He's a green surrounded by purples. He is scared. He is shitting himself. Look above him. He sees a purple, a purple, a purple, and he's like, I can do this with my Rage friend. Hopefully. And, well, hopefully in the future, his value goes up as Babies has. Again, he just seems like a newer Super Baby 2 in the, I'll be fine right now, but I won't be ideal right now. Now, in the future, I could be ideal. Hopefully that's the case. I would like to see that for his sake, because he's not a boring release. He's not a bad animation release. He's just a kind of weirdly timed release because of Ultra Omega's plat, but he's still a cool release. All the GT villains are pretty cool in their own merits. Not much going on for the hero characters, aside Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but the heroic, or rather villains, are pretty neat in their designs. What do you guys think of my top 10 list of the newest release of Ultra, or LF, almost said Ultra, LF Omega Shenron at the end of July here? I'll see you guys in the next one.